Hello, Ken Weller here with New Tech Inventors, and we're checking out our new printer here, the TENLOG HANDS 2 printer. This is a dual head, dual extruder printer. Several advantages. Right now we've got it in the duplication mode where it's printing a duplicate of a part that is used in the helping hand. So we've had this printer for a couple of weeks, and of course, as most of you know, we've been pretty busy working on the new print farm, trying to get it going and trying to get a website going, a lot of other things, and I really haven't had time to fool around with this printer, but I thought I'd come up here this evening and try to see if it could print one of our production parts in the duplication mode with the dual heads. And that's the part that it's printing right now, and as you can see, it's doing a pretty good job duplicating that part. And we're actually printing with two different filaments, a gray and a white. Extruder 1 has the white filament and extruder 2 has the gray. So we're going to let this print job go for a while, see how it works out, see what kind of quality of print we can get with it. Definitely some advantages of having a dual head printer. I think the biggest advantage is just being able to print at twice the speed with a single printer. Another advantage may be the power consumption advantage. Since you're sharing a bed and you're normally having to maintain temperature on that bed all the time anyway, so since that's your biggest power hog in the printer, you're probably producing your parts at a lower cost of power. And in a print farm, that could become a little bit of a factor. I haven't gone so far yet as to start calculating kilowatt hours and cost per kilowatt to see how much the actual energy cost is for producing parts, but eventually we'll do that because it's a good thing to know. It's a cost of production, just like your material cost and maintenance and everything else. So we'll be calculating some of that. This printer might be a little more efficient in that respect, and it seems to be running fairly quiet. It's not a real noisy printer. The fans, of course, you have twice as many fans going, so you got a little noise from that, but the servos are nice and quiet. So we'll go ahead and let this printer print for a while and come back and check on it a little bit and see how the print quality is coming along. Okay, looking at the print job as it's progressing, and got a little problem here. On number 1, we have some lift right here on this front corner. Everything else looks okay. I should have put some glue down there. I had a little bit on earlier, but I printed a couple print jobs. But you can see right there how that one corner lifted a little bit. But we'll let them go ahead and print. I want to look at the overall result and see how they come out and check some tolerances and everything to see how it does in that area. But there again, you have to learn your printer and learn what type of bed temperatures work best for the PLA you're using, what kind of adhesion assistance you need, whether you're using hairspray or a liquid glue solution, or if you're using glue sticks or nothing at all. So that's just one of those trial and error things that you learn as you're test printing these printers. Well, we're sitting here waiting on the TENLOG dual head printer to finish my print job here. Then we'll take a quick look at the parts and see how they turned out. I think I've already talked a little bit about this printer. Someone had suggested a while back, why don't I look at belt printers and why don't I look at dual head printers and so forth. And I take those comments to heart, so I did purchase this dual head printer just to see how it would perform and get a feel for its capability. So we'll evaluate the parts and see if it may have a place at our new print farm, and if we might be looking at getting more. The belt printers look really promising, but they're just a little too early for me. I think I'm going to wait just a little bit longer, let them get out there and prove themselves before I take on another project. But while we're waiting for this to finish, I'll mention a couple of other comments that I've had. People have been asking about UPS backups at the new print farm, and I have thought about that, but I can't afford to put a UPS system on every printer at this time. But I think some printers and some jobs I will have UPS systems on there. And then I do have a generator, actually 2 generators, so that if we do have a power failure, we can switch over to generator power, and at least if we can get power to those printers before the bed has time to cool down and so forth, we might be okay. I have had them cool down completely before and then power back up and take off and do well. But it's a risk that we don't want to take if we don't have to. Fortunately, in the Tennessee Valley here, TVA provides pretty reliable power. A lot better, I understand, than California, but nothing against California. But it is good to know that we have pretty reliable power and few power failures. So that helps a lot. And it looks like we're just about done here, and there she goes. Now I'm going to check and see just how, what kind of adhesion I have. Okay, the adhesion feels pretty good. I don't understand why this one corner ended up lifting on this one part, but we'll let it cool down. Okay, it's cooling down now. And when it cools down, we'll see if those parts come off fairly easy. Back to the comments again. Another question that was asked was, everybody keeps asking why I have so many Anet printers. Well, when I started adding printers to keep up with the demand and everything, the Anet printers, the ET4X and the ET4s were on the market and available at a reasonably good price, anywhere from about $130 for the Anet ET4X, and I think about $139 for the ET4s. So at that price, I purchased quite a few of them. I would purchase a few more if I could get them at that price, but for some reason the price has gone up quite a bit since then, and now you're looking at paying $150 or more for an ET4 or ET4X. So I'll keep an eye on them to see how it does, but that is one reason that I did end up with so many Anet printers. The few I had to start with were working well, and they were easy to assemble. They came practically 90% assembled, and had some nice features. Some of them had auto leveling, some of them didn't. They all had glass beds that came with them, and resume print. So anyway, that's how I ended up with so many Anet printers. I think they're good printers. There are a lot of other good printers out there too, I'm sure. I have several Tronicsy printers. I'll have several XY2 Pro Tronicsy printers set up down there shortly, and I'll have some of the older Tronicsy acrylic frame printers down there. I have about 11 or 12 of those, so I'll probably move about 10 of them down there. And but anyway, and then of course we have a wide variety of Delta printers, resin printers, and everything else, which also reminds me, I have started on my resin print area, and I thought I'd have a chance to do a video on it by now, but just haven't had time. But I'll get to that here shortly because it's almost ready. And let's see if this has cooled down. The bed hasn't really cooled down much yet. So yeah, they're still adhering pretty good. I'll let it cool down just a little bit more, and I think they might just pop off then. I might go ahead and speed it up just by removing the glass plate. There. Put this over here. dissipate some of that heat. Okay, I believe I had a question about the power. In my last video, we were putting in a panel and so forth. So when I do the next video on the print farm, I'll go into a little more detail on the power that I'm running to that panel. I'm running a 100 amp circuit to it, but I'm not going to be drawing anywhere near 100 amps at 220 volts, because that's basically the equivalent of 200 amps on the 110 volt circuits. And if we're drawing power like that, we won't be able to stay in that room. We'll be cooked like a Christmas turkey. So that's another thing too. We'll be checking the printers as we power them up. We'll be checking the current draw at the load center or the breaker panel, and I'll watch as we power up different banks of printers, and we'll see what our average current draw is. I know a lot of people were interested in that video that I did about how much power does your 3D printer need, and there's a lot of misconception about that. A lot of people try to base it on what type of power supply it has. If it has a 250 watt power supply or a 360 watt power supply, and that's not really the way to determine how much power you're going to need, especially when you're running a combination of many printers. You need to know what the average draw is and what the peak draw is. Well, another thing we're going to be doing along with electrical wiring, we're going to be running wire and cable for our cameras, monitoring cameras that'll be monitoring the printers down there. So I've got to work a little bit on the placement of those cameras and find out where we can run the cables to and mount those cameras, so we'll get the best angle and the best view of as many printers at one time as possible, so that we'll have that good monitoring capability. And let's check this thing again. Okay. Okay. Once it's cooled down, they're a lot easier to get off. Let's take a little closer look at these parts. It looks like you can see the part there. And then this one. Not bad. This is the one where the corner was lifting. I don't know why. This one looks like it almost tried to, but didn't. So those are the parts on the TENLOG dual head printer. I guess that's it for now.